Good morning, everyone. Guys, we are just moving forwards at a rapid rate of knots. Guys, the invasion of Europe, of NATO, guys, it started over the weekend while we was all, fixated on what's happening in America. Just before I continue, guys, let me read you the Oxford definition of an invasion. Invasion, the act of invading a country or territory as an enemy, an entrance or incursion with armed force and hostile intent. So guys, let's just use that as our basis when I tell you what's been happening in Europe, guys. So I'm going to read you this, guys. It's absolutely insane. If anybody says this is not an invasion, if anybody says this is not military invasion, guys, you are absolutely deluded. So I'll put the links to this in the description, guys, as always. So EU border guard is killed by spear-throwing migrants as Polish officials say surge in new arrivals through Belarus is Putin's latest war tactic against the West. Excuse me. A Polish border guard was killed last month by a group of spear-throwing migrants as they attempted to cross the border into Europe. As officials say, a surge in arrivals through Belarus is Putin's latest war tactic. The 21-year-old sergeant from the Polish village of Noe was killed after a group of migrants, reportedly from Africa and the Middle East, attempted to cross the Polish border and hurled a volley of makeshift weapons at several officers. The improvised weapons appear to be made of tree branches and steel blades taped on top. So guys, what you have now from this article, you have African and Middle Eastern men arriving on the Polish border throwing spears, and they've caused a fatality. Guys, that is literally the definition of an invasion. So these are war tactics that you're seeing by Putin. Why? Because they're cheap, they're deniable, and they're easy. So Russia, Belarus, that region, they're importing men now from Africa, from the Middle East, and they're weaponizing them on this border. This has been happening a while. Now it's come to the foreground again because I'll come on to it later, but Poland have they've passed the law now to say that, the Polish border guard, the Polish military, they can respond with lethal force. But I'll come on to that after. So, these people, these African migrants, Middle Eastern migrants, whatever you want to call them, they're now on the border. Be under no illusion, behind them there will be a number of Russian, Belarusian agent provocateurs, Chatushkas, however you want to frame them, intelligence services, and they'll be controlling them. They'll be telling them what to do. Be under no illusion to that, guys. All right, that will be happening on the Belarusian side. Most of these men will have caught. Well, potentially, guys. Most of these men could make their way elsewhere. So after they've been unsuccessful on the border, they could go elsewhere. Now, my question is it beyond their realms of possibility that these guys could make it through to mainland Europe, up to France? Potentially. Could they make it over to the UK? If they did get over to the UK, would they join these criminal gangs or sleeper cells, as some people are talking about? Can they get unimpeded into the UK? Well, from lots of my videos, we've talked about a lot of anecdotal reports of these boats coming into Dover, and nobody's seen them. They're not intercepted by the border guard. They just come in with big bags and they're picked up by vehicles or taxis, and then they're gone. Where are these people going? What were in those bags? Guys, we don't know. We can only speculate, but maybe those bags were just full of their dirty washing. Maybe those bags were just full of toys and sweets that you can't get in the UK. I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think about those guys. So, as I said, as a response to this, the Polish government have authorised lethal force on their border now. So, this has been passed almost unanimously through the Polish political system. So now you've got a situation on the Polish border where Poland's been authorised to use lethal force at these migrants. You're going to have further escalations from the other side, from the migrant side. You know, you're going to start seeing weaponized systems there. And as long as, you know, and as long as this invasion, you know, you can't not call it an invasion. As long as this happens and it's with migrants, it's low level, you know, it's very difficult. It has that air of deniability around it. You know, the Belarusians can say, no, they're just, you know, that has nothing to do with us. And, you know, liberal Western media, you know, they won't really report on it because it's kind of it's a taboo subject. But, you know, guys, that's really what's happening. And, you know, as we've seen, you know, there's been fatalities now. And this is kind of what I came back to like a couple of days ago, guys. You know, when I said NATO is over, and I went through the, if I threw them down on the floor somewhere, hang on, I can't see them. But I threw the NATO documents down. I after I read them, I threw them, and I think I think the NATO document monsters took them. So NATO's over, guys. All right, you know, this is your new alliance. What you're seeing now on this border. So you've got you know, you've got like Poland, Finland, obviously, Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania. You know, forming this Eastern Shield. I called this, like, months ago, I identified these countries and I called them the Fellowship, but, you know, it's come out, they've actually got their own little thing now called the Eastern Shield. Now, if you've not watched the video when I say NATO's over, go and watch that now, guys, because I go through in more depth the articles, but everybody talks about this Article 5 thing. Guys, Article 5 in the NATO, whatever it is, you know, guys, it's not worth the paper it's written on. Nowhere in Article 5 does that say, if your country's invaded, we'll come and take your country back. No, it says something like, the wording is something like the Security Council will do, guys, I may be slightly wrong here. It says something like the Security Council will take steps necessary to restore peace and stability. Guys, so if you've lost part of your country, say, I don't know, Finland, for example, I'm just using it as an example. Say Finland loses 2 kilometers of its territory. You know, the Russians make an incursion, they've taken 2% of that, 2 kilometers of that territory. They've calmed everything down, there's no fighting. What can NATO do? Because NATO Article 5 says they're going to restore peace and stability. If there's no fighting, there's peace. If there's nobody, you know, if there's no instability, i.e. no fighting, then NATO's, what can it do? It can't do anything. So that's why you're seeing these new alliances. Also, guys, on, you know, Articles 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, they're kind of the teeth of the article. Article 7, guys, I'm just being a nerd now. 7, 8, 9, that's more administrational. But basically, Article 3 says that, you know, NATO countries are expected to defend themselves either by unilaterally or with allies that they've formed outside. You know, I think I'm not sure the exact wording, but it basically says you've got to form allies yourself that will come to your initial aid. So that's what you're seeing now, guys. Poland, Finland, Latvia, Estonia and Lithuania, they're forming this Eastern Shield. Let's not forget as well that the Polish have just agreed to spend 5% GDP on their defence. So that's absolutely huge, guys, absolutely huge, you know, and that's going to be the new alliance. And then you're going to see the United States, once Trump gets in, you know, they're going to form a new alliance, and that will be the United States, Australia, Japan, South Korea, New Zealand, and they're going to form sort of an Indo-Pacific, a new Indo-Pacific alliance, guys, all right? So that's the reality of the situation, guys, okay? NATO's over, Poland's under invasion, ergo NATO's under invasion, and you see now the roads to this escalation, because once, you know, the Polish have, I mean, guys, it's like, it's weapons hot now in Poland, you know. So once Poland start to use lethal force on their border, then the migrants via Belarus, via Russia, they need to up their tactics. They need to increase their tactics. So this is probably going to be with, you know, snipes, fire bombs, raids, all sort of stuff's going to be happening on that border. And guys, they're literally using medieval tactics. You know, that's kind of the way it's going. It's getting medieval on that border. Guys, so let me just read you quickly now another article from, where are we? Yeah, this one. So you see these escalations moving forward, and one person moves forward and then they go a little bit higher, and then these guys, they want to have the same effect, so they have to escalate a little bit more. And you see, ultimately guys, all these escalations, where do they lead? What is the ultimate escalation? Because that's where you go to with escalations. Poland migrant clashes intensify as Warsaw passes shoot to kill law after soldier death. Obviously, I'll put this in the description. Video images show the Polish troops forming a defensive line behind riot shields as groups of migrants stand about 20 metres away. Polish MPs have voted overwhelmingly to pass new law allowing soldiers and bodyguards to fire live rounds at migrants trying to break into their country from Belarus. The passing of the legislation comes in the wake of the tragic death of a Polish bodyguard last week, who was killed by a spear thrown by a migrant from inside Belarusian territory. Guys, you know, I've been on these shield lines in these public order incidents. I don't think, you know, certainly nothing like this, but you know, in Northern Ireland, you're getting bottles, petrol bombs, bricks thrown at you, and it's very difficult to, you know, to defend yourself. You know, it's very difficult to defend yourself against a petrol bomb with a shield. You know, it's very difficult to protect yourself when they're, you know, when these guys are skimming rocks and they're bouncing off the ground under your shield and hitting you in the shins. Now, it comes out in the media, oh, these guys were just throwing stones. They were just, you know, they were just migrants throwing stones. And guys, you know, while the sentence is correct, you know, now they're throwing spears, and these spears are obviously lethal. They've got a lethality to them. So what, guys? And you're just seeing these escalations build up and build up. I hope, guys, I really hope that they don't bring children in to start throwing these spears and these, you know, these projectiles, because I've seen this tactic used myself in other places in the world, and it becomes very, very, very difficult how to deal with that situation, guys. And you know, nobody wins that situation. You know, it needs to stop. You know, people need to just calm down. But the reality is, nobody's going to calm down. You know, you've seen the polarization of the world now. The world's polarized. You know. You have Republicans or Democrats in the United States, or liberal or conservatives and Labour in the United Kingdom. You know, and you really have you have a lot of in Orwell's 1984. You know, you have like the Ministry of Truth, and everybody's trying to control what their version of the truth is, so that can benefit them. And guys, you know, we are literally seeing escalation day after day. You know, you can't say that these escalations are not happening more frequently. And I said it, I think, in yesterday's video when I was talking about the incident in America with Donald Trump. I said, guys, you know, in a week, in 2 weeks, we're going to have forgot about this, because, you know, the next thing will be there, and the next escalation that we'll all be talking about. That's how fast things are moving. Let's just take any of these, you know, any of these incidents that have happened over the last 28 days. You know, 10 years ago, these would have been, you know, this would have been the only headline for, you know, for weeks, for months. But, you know, things are happening so fast now. And guys, I've waffled on for too long. I'm going to cut this short, guys, now, because I've got another video to do later on. But, guys, in short, guys, you know, NATO is, you know, NATO borders are being invaded, you know, from the definitions that we've seen. Guys, a lot of this is my opinion and speculation. Let me know what you think. Do you think I'm right, or do you think I'm wrong? I'm going to back to grid.